Ping of Zhou, the fall of Western Zhou, and the birth of Eastern Zhou. How the royal house lost its power, and China entered an age of warlords. Chapter 1. King Yu's Misrule and the Catastrophe of Haojing. 771 BCE. For hundreds of years, Western Zhou maintained order across the realm through the complete Zhou ritual code. The Zhou Son of Heaven commanded a powerful royal army and controlled vassal states from all quarters. But during the reign of King Yu, the royal house fell into total internal collapse. He deposed the original crown prince Yizhu, the later King Ping of Zhou, together with Queen Shen. Favoring Baoxi, he installed Baoxi's son as the new heir. This reckless succession change enraged the state of Shen, the homeland of Queen Shen. Marquis of Shen allied with nomadic frontier tribes and launched a massive invasion against Haojing, capital of Western Zhou. In 771 BCE, Haojing fell. King Yu and the newly installed crown prince perished in warfare. The prosperous royal domain of Western Zhou turned into scorched ruins. Palaces were burned. A great number of ancestral ritual bronzes were destroyed. The royal army that once intimidated all states was nearly wiped out. Western Zhou came to an end, yet peace never arrived. A brutal struggle over royal power had only just begun. The Great Fire of Haojing burned down not merely a capital city, but also the supreme military foundation of the Zhou Son of Heaven. Chapter 2. Two kings coexist. Legitimacy. Crisis of King Ping's Ascension. After Haojing's fall, former Crown Prince Yizhu gained support from Marquis of Shen, Marquis of Lu, and other nobles, and ascended the throne as King Ping of Zhou. Nevertheless, not all vassals recognized his legitimacy. Some royal nobles argue that King Ping colluded with foreign nomadic tribes and indirectly caused Western Zhou's destruction. They regarded him as a criminal who betrayed his father, unfit to inherit the title of Son of Heaven. Therefore, other vassals supported Yu Chen, younger brother of King Yu, who ruled from Xie, known in history as King Xie of Zhou. A rare political situation emerged. Two kings co-ruled the Zhou realm. For more than 20 years, these two rival Zhou regimes confronted each other across east and west. King Ping was trapped in an awkward position. He possessed no intact royal army of his own. He could only rely on limited support from several vassal lords. From the start, his kingship heavily leaned upon external vassal powers. Vassals backed the Son of Heaven no longer purely out of Zhou ritual code morality, but largely for their own national interests. This marked a huge shift in the logic of royal power within Chinese history. The greatest tragedy of King Ping of Zhou lay in the fact that his royal power depended on the will of vassals from the very beginning. Chapter 3. Abandoning Homeland, the royal house's strategic flight. Repeatedly sacked by nomadic raiders, Haojing lay in complete ruin. Lands were ravaged by warfare. Nomadic groups still roamed Guanzhong region, continuously threatening royal safety. Even if King Ping wished to return to the old capital, he lacked sufficient troops to defend it. Escorted by vassal states, including Jin, Zheng, and Qin, in 770 BCE, King Ping formally moved the Zhou capital eastward to Luoyi, modern-day Luoyang area. This migration is viewed by later generations as the dividing line between Western Zhou and Eastern Zhou. Yet in essence, it was a forced, strategic flight. The Zhou royal house completely abandoned Guanzhong, their ancestral homeland cultivated for centuries. King Ping promised Guanzhong territory to the state of Qin. If Qin could expel nomadic raiders, they would gain ownership of this land. Qing seized this historic chance, gradually taking over old Guangzhong lands, and laying foundation for its future rise. After settling in Luoyi, territory directly governed by Zhou royal house shrank drastically. The Son of Heaven no longer held vast, fertile royal domains. Royal tax revenue and manpower sources shrank sharply. The once formidable royal military could never be restored. The eastward migration was no glorious capital relocation, but a voluntary surrender of military strength and territorial sovereignty by the Zhou royal house. Chapter 4. The Fall of Zhou Ritual Code, Dawn of Warlord Dominance. After arriving in Luoyi, King Ping remained nominal overlord of all under heaven. Legally, all vassal states still belonged to the Zhou dynastic system, yet the real power structure had completely transformed. The Son of Heaven lacked sufficient land, troops, and financial resources. Powerful vassals no longer revered royal authority. The state of Zheng, which rendered great service in escorting the royal court, lay closest to Luoyi. It began repeatedly meddling in royal house internal affairs. Late in King Ping's reign, fearing Zheng's overwhelming power, he intended to transfer authority to state of Guo to balance Zheng influence. Duke Zhuang of Zheng learned of this plan and openly pressured King Ping. Too weak to resist, King Ping had to exchange hostages with Zheng, known historically as the Zhou-Zheng hostage exchange. That the Son of Heaven exchanged hostages with a vassal state shattered the dignity of the Zhou ritual code. The strict hierarchical order of status existed in name only. The Son of Heaven had to yield to powerful vassals and even court them for survival. Vassal states, large and small, waged wars and seized territory without restraint. The era when rituals and military expeditions originated from the Son of Heaven was gone. The Spring and Autumn Age, where vassals controlled wars and rituals, officially began. The hostage exchange between Zhou and Zheng marked a turning point. The sacred outer shell of Zhou ritual code was torn apart by raw political reality. Chapter 5. Merits and Faults of King Ping. In-depth reflection on this turning point. King Ping of Zhou reigned for 51 years and lived a deeply controversial life. Many later generations simply blamed King Yu's beacon fire hoax for Western Zhou's fall. Modern historical research and archaeology reveal that Western Zhou royal decline stemmed from long-term accumulated internal conflicts. King Ping was not a cruel tyrant. He was trapped inside a gigantic historical maelstrom. In his youth, he witnessed national catastrophe. His own father died in warfare. His ascension itself was a product of multi-faction power games. His choice of eastward migration came out of practical survival pressure. Guanzhong lay ruined, nomadic threats persisted, and royal military strength was gone. Nevertheless, this migration permanently surrendered the core homeland upon which Zhou royal power rested. The material foundation of kingship was hollowed out. From then on, the Son of Heaven lost hard power to restrain vassals. Throughout his life, he strove to preserve royal dignity, yet he could not reverse the grand tide of history. He never personally ruined Zhou, yet during his reign, practical conditions sustaining the Zhou ritual code collapsed entirely. The age of King Ping forms a massive historical watershed. Before him stood Western Zhou, when the Son of Heaven commanded all realms. After him came Eastern Zhou Spring and Autumn period, an era of competing warlords. The old world faded away, and a new age of rival states slowly unfolded. King Ping of Zhou never destroyed the Zhou dynasty with his own hands, yet he witnessed the complete demise of the ancient order. Chapter 6. How Eastern Zhou reshaped Chinese ancient history. With the royal house stripped of real authority, the Eastern Zhou opened an extraordinarily turbulent yet creative chapter for ancient China. Freed from tight royal control, vassal states carried out large-scale reforms, one after another. They reorganized land systems, adjusted bureaucratic structures, and expanded armies to compete against rival powers. As ritual constraints crumbled, old aristocratic privileges weakened. New social groups rose to historical prominence. Thinkers traveled across numerous states, putting forward diverse philosophies to solve the world's chaos. This gave birth to the famous 100 schools of thought. Military conflicts became more frequent and brutal. Countless small states were conquered and annexed. Only stronger polities survived fierce competition. Constant wars drove progress in technology, agriculture, and governance systems. The Zhou Son of Heaven lingered on as a symbolic figure. He no longer decided the fate of the realm, but remained a cultural symbol shared by all vassals. The Eastern Zhou transformation tells us the collapse of an old political order does not always equal total civilizational failure. Out of institutional crisis came tremendous ideological and social innovation. Eastern Zhou's chaos tore down the old aristocratic world and birthed the ideological foundation for later Chinese civilization. Chapter 7. Closing recap and next episode teaser. To recap this chapter, the fall of Haojing shattered Western Zhou's military power. The coexistence of two kings threw royal legitimacy into doubt. King Ping's eastward migration abandoned the Guanzhong heartland, draining the Zhou royal house of its material strength. The Haojing hostage exchange marked the final breakdown of the old ritual hierarchy. Though King Ping was not a tyrant, he presided over the end of the Western Zhou order, clearing the stage for the spring and autumn era of competing vassals. The Zhou royal house kept its symbolic title, yet real power slipped firmly into the hands of regional lords. Among them, Duke Chuang of Zheng would become the first overlord to challenge royal prestige. In our next video, we dive into Duke Zhuang of Zheng, the man who made Zheng powerful and defied the Zhou Son of Heaven. What is your view on King Ping of Zhou? Was he a victim of circumstance or a key figure behind the Zhou decline? Leave your opinion in the comments below. If you enjoy our series on early Chinese history, subscribe to follow along for more stories of ancient China. The age of absolute royal supremacy was gone forever. The era of the spring and autumn overlords had officially arrived.